over 70 games through the 2022 MLB season. I can't believe it. The season is just flying by. Lots of great baseball in both the American League and the National League. It's a great time in every baseball season around June when the All-Star break is starting to creep up, trade deadline, names getting thrown out there. We'll have it all here in the 8th episode of the Free Baseball Pod. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the 8th episode of the Free Baseball Pod. Will Talent here. Alongside me is Andrew Mendez. Andrew, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Like you said, I can't believe it's already late June. It just feels like the season just started. But this point in the season is one of my favorite parts. Start of summer, get to really see which teams are for real, which teams aren't, who's at the top of leaderboards for top of the awards.
And you speak of awards, Andrew. That's actually how we're going to start our episode. We're going to start with talking about, we're going to do a little review of the awards picks that Andrew and I had early on before the season started. Then we're going to talk about our All-Star game ballots. We've both selected who we think is most likely going to be the starter at each position in each league. And then Andrew and I will have two players each who we think are most likely going to be flipped at the deadline. And then we'll finish this episode with something new, something that Andrew and I would like to actually incorporate in a lot of the episodes going forward, which will be a hot take segment. And it'll mainly be centered around how we think the first half is going to end. So nothing other than the first half. Will stick to the second half when the second half comes. But before we get into all of that, Andrew, Shohei Ohtani, he's been unreal. He did something very, very impressive, something honestly we haven't even seen ever in our lifetime, probably in nobody's lifetime, that anybody that's still around watching baseball nowadays.
Yeah, this past week, obviously, Shohei Ohtani, every time he does anything special to store it, because the guy throws 100 miles per hour, he could hit 500-foot homers. But this past week might have been his most impressive two-day stretch ever. Tuesday night, he goes out, it's 2 3-run homers, absolute bombs, 8 RBIs. The Angels end up losing that game actually, 12-11. And then the next night, he goes on the mound against the Royals. 8 innings pitched, 2 hits, no runs, 13 strikeouts, 1 walk. This is stuff we've never seen before. We've seen guys try to be two-way players, never really given the full go like Ohtani. This is more, who knows? I don't want to say more impressive than Babe Ruth, but Babe Ruth only did this for 1 year. Ohtani's on his second year, and he's pretty young. He could be doing this for the next 10 years.
I honestly, Andrew, I think I'd go as far as saying it is better than what Babe Ruth was able to do. Now, obviously, it is kind of a stretch to say that. We all know about the Sultan of Swat, the King of Crash, but he wasn't throwing 100 miles an hour. And I can tell you right now, he probably was not hitting the ball over 100 miles an hour. This is something that Shohei Ohtani does day in and day out. He's just dominating on both sides of the ball. But the sad part is, and Andrew, you brought it up, the Angels still are finding ways to lose. This team is still, they haven't really recovered from that horrendous stretch they had a few weeks ago, losing 14 straight games. Still under 500 after a scorching hot start, but at least Shohei Ohtani is still being a focal point for this team. Him and Mike Trout, the usuals, both posting great seasons. Mike Trout may be a little further ahead in the MVP voting, but don't sleep on Shohei Ohtani. I think back-to-back MVPs are definitely in the conversation for this guy. In the last 28 days, he is 3-1 with a 1.88 ERA and 24 innings pitched. He's only walked 6, and he has 27 strikeouts. Those are incredible numbers, and he just keeps doing his thing day in and day out.
Yeah, I question every day if this guy is even real. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Last year, probably the second best hitter in the American League, arguably in baseball, behind Vlad Jr. This year, he hasn't been as good on the hitting side. Still been pretty good. 835 OPS, got 15 homers now. But he's been one of the best pitchers of baseball. And he honestly could be, with a strong second half, could be in the running for the Cy Young. So I don't know. He's a free agent after next year. I was wondering how much money you think he's going to get for his contract. And if
that's tough, though. That it's kind of tough for him, for me, and you know this. It's always a big wait and see with him, because there's sometimes, that he's not on both sides. And then there's sometimes like now where he is just unstoppable on both sides. And last year we really saw that. where he wasn't the best pitcher in the league, but he was definitely an ace. He was definitely an ace for the Angels, and he was one of the best hitters in Major League Baseball. Now, this year, doing very similar things and maybe even better. I would have to really wait and see, Andrew, how this year finishes, and then next year, how next year goes. Don't really see him signing an extension with the Angels. I think if he puts up a season like he did last year and a season that he is putting up this year, if he can do that in 2023, he'll be making big money. I would say probably 250 plus. I don't know if someone will go 300, but you never know. I can definitely see that happening. But as of right now, June 25th, the day of recording, I say Shohei Ohtani gets 250 plus from a team on the West Coast, obviously. I would go with either the Padres or the Mariners. I don't really see him staying in LA, but I'll stick with 250 million plus.
Yeah, I think a good number probably around 30, around what Trout's getting, 30, 37 million a year for like 8 or 9. So probably pretty similar to Aaron Judge contract, even though he's younger. Just because it is a little bit shaky because we've only seen him do this for 1-2 years. So, like you said, next year will be the big determiner, his contract year.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't see him leaving the West Coast, like I said. And I really do see him leaving the Angels. But then again, I could see him staying. However, the Angels are already having enough time as it is building around him and Trout. So now that you're going to pay two guys over 30 million, plus the Rendon disaster of a contract, and then anything else that comes around that, who knows how much money this team is going to be able to throw out there to improve on what they already have. It's going to be very tough. It's going to be a tough decision for the Angels to make, but there are going to be suitors out there for Ohtani, and it's going to be very interesting to see. But before we even start really getting into that conversation, I hope he has a great year. He's very fun to watch. Love when I can just sit down and then watch him bat second or third, sometimes clean up, hit a home run that goes over 450, and the ball is like 117 miles an hour off the bat. And then in the next inning, he'll throw he'll pitch to three batters, strike them all out, and then in each of those at bats, he'll throw 100, 102 on the gun, just effortlessly. It's just so incredible. He's just such an incredible talent. But we're gonna cycle in to the awards. Shohei Ohtani, reigning AL MVP winner. Let's go right into that, Andrew. I'll start with mine. Aaron Judge was my pick way back when we did the AL preview, and now Judge, he is the front runner right now, and it's getting a little closer than it was a few weeks ago, but still, I don't see anybody else passing him up. 3.7 WAR, 27 home runs, a leader in the MLB, 53 RBIs. That's good for second in the American League, and a slash line of 299, 374, and 648 with a 1,022 OPS. Andrew, as Yankee fans, this is what we wanted to see. This is the guy that we expected to see, and maybe even a little bit more.
Yeah, obviously Judge's been huge contract year. Absolutely made the right decision turning down 218 million. It's worth far more than that as long as he stays healthy. Even if he has a average second half, I'd say he's going to surpass that number, probably closer to 300 million. And yeah, so my AL pick was Jose Ramirez, which he was actually ranked second on the MLBs.com. Clearly not. There's no argument with that. Judge is number one. Trout, he could bump up to first. You never know. It's Mike Trout, but he's been pretty good this year. Jose Ramirez, 180 WRC plus, 3.8 WAR, 1.003 OPS. He has been a little bit lucky according to some advanced metrics. He's a 420 WOBA with a 367 xWOBA, but as of now, he might have a slight fielding advantage over Judge. But we'll see. It's going to be tough for him to pass Judge.
All I can say is that the Free Baseball Pod knows the fact that our two American League picks are that close to each other. That's pretty awesome to see. I would say that mine is a little ahead of yours, but J-Ram is not too far behind. The Cleveland Guardians have really, I would say, surpassed expectations. Now, I think numbers-wise, Judge definitely passes J-Ram for right now. That could change, But a big thing with Judge is that the Yankees are the best team in baseball of 32 games over 500. That plays a lot into deciding the MVP. And Judge definitely edges him there, but it'll be a very fun race to watch down the line. We'll see who comes out on top, either me with Aaron Judge or Andrew with Jose Ramirez. But sticking with the Cleveland Guardians, we'll move into the AL Cy Young, and mine is the ace of the Cleveland Guardians, Shane Bieber, not having Cy Young season, but a good season. Not the 2020 Triple Crown Shane Bieber that we saw, but 3-3 with a 3 ERA, flat 84 strikeouts to 18 walks. It's very Shane Bieber-esque. A lot of strikeouts, doesn't walk a lot, and a 1.16 whip. I think he has a chance to finish top 5, but I really don't see him getting to the top.
Yeah, Shane Bieber, obviously one of the top. Probably, what you said, borderline top 5, maybe 6, 7. Mine was Dylan Cease. He's had some really great metrics this year. Probably top 5, all the top metrics you look at, xFIP, Sierra, very high K rate, but he also does have a high walk rate, which is going to be a tough battle for him. And it's a really stacked class this year. McClanahan really, I think, is going to end up winning it at the end. Justin Verlander just had a great start against the Yankees, lowering 2.222 ERA. Alek Manoah, Garrett Cole, he's in the running, even though he's had some bad starts. Giolito, like we said, Ohtani. So it's going to be, I think it'll be tough for both of our guys to get the number 1 spot.
Definitely very tough for both of us, but it's fun to watch. A lot of good pitchers in the American League this year. But let's go to Rookie of the Year. And I picked another pitcher, and that was Shane Baz. In a 3rd innings pitch, he's 0-1 with a 5.4 ERA. He just came back from injury. It was kind of a shot in the dark pick. I thought maybe he would come back because he does have a decent amount of major league experience already, but still having his rookie status. Honestly, I really don't see him getting it at all.
Yeah, your pick kind of already down the drain. Same with mine. Adley Rutschman, not doing pretty good so far. 684 OPS. Right now, it's just J-Rod and Jeremy Pena battling out for that number 1 spot for the Rookie of the Year.
J-Rod show. I think he's going to end up running away with it. Love watching him play center field for the Mariners. Just a great all-around talent, great athlete. But last of the American League for now will be reliever of the year. Mine was Liam Hendriks, 2.81 ERA with 16 saves, a 1.13 whip, and 37 strikeouts. Hasn't played a whole ton, Andrew, and I just don't see him as dominant as he's been in the recent years, but he's still very solid. It's still not the Liam Hendriks that we've seen over the last 2 to 3 years.
Yeah, Liam Hendriks obviously could maybe win it, probably not. Clay Holmes really running away that award right now. I had Ryan Presley. Just bad timing for this episode right now to talk about Ryan Presley after his performance against the Yankees a few days ago. Gave the 3-run homer to Hicks. 4.26 ERA. Don't really see a chance there for him.
Well, we may hit on the biggest award, either of us. One of us, I think, is going to be right with the MVP, so that's always a nice thing. But let's stay on the MVP now. In the National League, let's start running it back with the National League. My MVP pick was Juan Soto, and he has really, really underperformed with a 2 WAR, with 14 home runs, 31 RBIs, and something very just non-Juan Soto, a 218 average with a 367 on-base percentage, a 440 slugging, and just barely over an 800 OPS. Really don't know what's going on with Juan Soto. It's very sad to see. I think just because of popularity, and he may squeeze into the All-Star game, but that 218 average is really, really glaring. This is a guy that gets on base a lot. He walks more than he strikes out, but he also does hit for a higher average. And this year, it's just not happening.
Yeah, it's really been weird to see this season for Juan Soto. Last year, I will say he did have a huge second half. He wasn't really in top running. He was probably top 5 for MVP in the first half, but he had that massive second half that really bolted him up. Almost won it. So it's been a pretty weird season for Soto. His OPS up now running under 800. It's pretty weird. And then my pick, Mookie Betts, was looking pretty decent. 148 WRC plus, 84 OPS, 17 homers. He just did get hurt though, so he's gonna be out a few weeks. And there's some pretty tough competition right now. Goldschmidt, Machado, Pete Alonso. So he's probably 4th or 5th up there. So it's gonna be tough for Mookie with the injury. But
I think Paul Goldschmidt, if he continues to play the way he is right now, I think he will end up getting that award, an award that I feel like he should have gotten at least once in Arizona, but we'll just wait and see with that. Cy Young now. This is a guy that I picked because of the last few seasons that he's had, and I was really banking on the Phillies to bolster this offense a little bit, and they did, but they just have not been performing at the level that I thought they would. But my pick was Zach Wheeler. He's 6-3 with a 2.69 ERA, which is sixth in the National League, 78 strikeouts, which is 10th in the National League, to 15 walks and a 1.04 WHIP. I personally think he is top 3 right now. It'll be tough for him to pass who you picked, but he's been very dominant. And I think if this Phillies lineup can get it together and score some more runs when he's out there, get some more wins for him, he's going to play. He's going to pitch very well. I think there's a chance that he could end up being top 2, maybe even the leader. But I don't know. I think it's all going to depend on how the Phillies do as a team. But we'll have to wait and see. He does have to pass your guy, though.
yeah, my guy, Corbin Burns, clear favorite as of now. 32.6 K rate, 2.31 ERA, 2.68 xFIP, 0.92 WHIP. As long as Corbin Burns healthy, with Jacob deGrom, Scherzer not pitching, well, not Scherzer so much, but with Jacob deGrom not pitching, he's clearly best pitcher in the National League. And Musgrove, like you said, Musgrove, Alcantara, Wheeler, Nola, they all have a chance. They're not far behind. They're not too far behind, but Corbin Burns, as long as he stays healthy, I think he's going to get it. But the one thing I will say about Wheeler and Nola is their defense. Their advanced metrics are always going to make them look better, but because of their defense is bad. So it's going to be tough because some of the main stats they look at for Cy Young are obviously going to be ERA, WHIP, which obviously aren't going to be as good for Wheeler and Nola.
Yeah, it's been kind of tough over there for Philly. They had a good stretch, and then they got a little cold again. But we'll just have to wait and see. Maybe they're going to be a second-half team. Who knows? But another pick that we really didn't hit the nail on the head with, and that's Rookie of the Year. Mine was Seiya Suzuki. I thought this guy was going to run away with it. The most professional experience out of the bunch that would be in the running for this award, playing over in Japan. It's a very tough league to play in, and he dominated over there. 245 average with a 344 on base percentage, 432 slugging, and an OPS over 800 with 4 home runs and 31 RBIs. It's really just not going to get it done. I don't really see him finishing top 5, to be honest.
Yeah, Seiya, I think he is coming back relatively soon. Hasn't really played a lot. Did have a really great start. Led league in homers, I think, through the first week. But there's really no. I picked Camilo Duvall. He's a 3.19 ERA with a 10.7 Ks per 9. But pretty high walk rate. It's going to be pretty tough for him to win his reliever. He doesn't have a special season like he did last year. But it's really open.
Winning that award are kind of tough. It's really tough, actually, for a reliever to come out with that award. But I did like that pick in the beginning.
Yeah. I just thought because of the year he had last year and Devin Williams we saw in the past did win it, but that was obviously a very special season and a 6-game season. But there's really no clear front runner right now for the award. I'd say the 2 top guys is Mackenzie Gore and Spencer Strider, and then O'Neal Cruz. Who knows? He's looked pretty good at the gate, so he could be in that mix too.
Yeah, O'Neal Cruz, a very special talent, 6'7", actually, a 6'7" shortstop. He came in first game, crossed the diamond, first ground ball to him. He threw it over almost 97 miles an hour across the diamond, and he's just hitting the ball all over the place. It'll be an interesting award for both leagues, actually, for Rookie of the Year. But it's nice to see that maybe you can agree or disagree with me here, Andrew. It's nice to see that there really isn't a clear front runner for either Rookie of the Year, and I feel like that goes to show how many special young players there are up and coming in this league.
Yeah, so many great players, and some of them I never even heard of for this year. Some are top prospects. Some guys that I had no idea were even going to be in the running, like Spencer Strider. This guy, one of the best strikeout pitchers in the league, and he honestly could be second right now.
Yeah, and at one point Stephen Kwan was up there, and like I said, it just goes to show you how many good young players there are and the good young talent that Major League Baseball has. So future's looking bright. But the last award for the award segment, and then we will cycle into our All-Star Game ballots. We will finish with reliever of the year, and mine was the Milwaukee Brewers closer, probably the best relief pitcher in baseball, and he's definitely playing like that as of now. And that's Josh Hader, a 0.83 ERA with 21 saves, a 0.60 WHIP, and 37 strikeouts. I really think he's going to win this award for the fourth time.
Yeah, Josh Hader, really no argument there. Although Edwin Diaz could win it, he does have a league-leading 1.27 xFIP right now with a 16.95 Ks per nine and 2.2 ERA. That was my pick. So it looks like our guys are top two once again.
Yeah, we definitely hit on some picks for sure, with some of our picks being 1 and 2, whether it be you're at 1 and I'm at 2 or vice versa. So I think we did a pretty decent job so far. It's very tough to pick these, but the fact I'm really banking on our American League MVP picks because both of them are right up there at the top, and it'll be very interesting to see where it goes down the line. But before we really decide who is going to win which award, you got to get to the All-Star game first to even really be in contention to get to those awards. And the way we're going to do this, I'm going to read off mine from the American League. Andrew's then going to read off his. We'll talk about it a little bit. Then we'll go to the National League, and that'll be that. Before you get to the awards in November in Major League Baseball, you got to get to the All-Star game first. And we're just about at that time. All-Star ballots are out now, and Andrew and I have both of ours for both leagues. And we'll just start it off right now. I will read my American League off. He will read his American League off, and then vice versa. For the National League, we'll talk about the differences. But I'll start right now at catcher in the American League. I have Toronto Blue Jays backstop Alejandro Kirk at first base. I have Seattle Mariners Ty France. I have Gleyber Torres of the New York Yankees at second base. Jose Ramirez of the Cleveland Guardians at third. At shortstop, I have Boston Red Sox shortstop Xander Bogaerts. In the outfield, I have Twins center fielder Byron Buxton, Aaron Judge of the New York Yankees, and the big fish in LA, Mike Trout of the Los Angeles Angels. And a designated hitter, I have Houston Astros DH Yordan Alvarez.
Mine's pretty similar there. Alejandro Kirk, obviously, catcher. Ty France first. Instead of Gleyber, I have Altuve at second. Jose Ramirez, I've talked about before, second MVP. It's at third base. Xander Bogaerts short. Outfield, I have Judge, Trout, and Taylor Ward. And then DH, it's got to be Yordan.
So the differences really aren't too big of a deal. Honestly, all the names that we read off will possibly make the team. Altuve, Gleyber, I really feel like it's interchangeable. I think Gleyber will end up edging him towards the end. Well, I hope so. We'll just wait and see right there. But the big difference for me, I see, is Taylor Ward and Byron Buxton. If this was a couple weeks ago, I may have thrown Taylor Ward in there, but he got hurt. Byron Buxton went on a tear while he was out. I can see Taylor Ward making it, but right now, and probably for the rest of the first half, I see Byron Buxton getting in over Ward.
Yeah, like you said, Taylor Ward did miss a little bit of time, but so is Buxton. Buxton's had some injuries too. So when you look at the overall games, Taylor Ward obviously does have a little bit less, but the hitting stats are much better. Taylor Ward still got 1,000 OPS, was best hitter in baseball for a good period of time. Buxton does edge defensively. As for second base, Altuve's stats do look better as of now, and Gleyber, never know. He did start off the year not so great. So last year wasn't a great year. Altuve's obviously more experienced, so if I had to bet on it, I think Altuve does have better numbers.
And I think, too, obviously a big part of the All-Star game is it's a popularity contest. Mike Trout made it last year and only played 36 games in the entire season. That's actually a big reason why I think Buxton will end up edging Ward. If Ward had stayed healthy the whole time, that's actually where Buxton can get away with it, because he does get hurt a lot, but he is that flashy and he is that athletic. He's a great all-around baseball player. If Ward stayed healthy and stayed as good consistently as he was from April until now, there is a very good chance I could have thrown Taylor Ward in there for sure.
Yeah, I think Ward right now does deserve it, but if we're talking about voting wise, yeah, Buxton's obviously much popular. But for who will win it, probably gonna be Buxton. You're right there. All right, so then now we're gonna move on to the NL my ballot, I have Wilson Contreras of the Chicago Cubs at first, Paul Goldschmidt. Oh, no, sorry. Wilson Contreras, catcher at first, Paul Goldschmidt from the Cardinals, Jazz Chisholm Jr. from the Miami Marlins, Manny Machado, Padres, Trey Turner, Dodgers, and then from outfield, I have Jock Peterson, Mookie Betts, and Ronald Acuna, and then DH, who just got hurt, actually, Bryce Harper.
Yeah, really, there's only one difference there in the entire ballot for both of us, and I'll get into it in a second. Bryce Harper going down. News just came out the day of recording, June 25th. Phillies and Padres playing in a game in San Diego. Bryce Harper fractures his thumb on a hit by pitch, 97 miles an hour, fastball up and in from Blake Snell. That's a horrible loss for this Phillies lineup, who's already struggling enough to win games, and they need that extra offense. Harper looking like he can make a push for a back-to-back MVP and possibly winning his third MVP of his career. Terrible loss for the Phillies, but nevertheless, I do think he ends up making the All-Star team just for how good he's played, but it's going to be a big loss for the Phillies. And in terms of the only difference that Andrew and I have Ian Happ over Ronald Acuna. Happ is having a tremendous year. I think he ends up squeezing it in there, but kind of similar to how similar to the Ward Buxton situation. Acuna will probably get it over Ian Happ because he's more of a household name. It's a guy that the people want to see in a game like the All-Star game. But other than that, every single pick was spot on.
Yeah, there is some close battles though. Trey Turner and Lindor. Lindor obviously has slowed down a little bit over the past month. Not been great. So Trey Turner's probably going to be on nod there. Jazz Chisholm, Jeff McNeil. That is a pretty good race. Jazz probably the clear favorite there though. But like you said, Acuna and Ian Happ, it's really just a battle of how many games you think someone deserves, how many games they have to play to deserve an All-Star nod. And Acuna missed the first month.
Yeah, exactly. But in terms of that shortstop battle, I don't think it's as close as maybe you think, though, Andrew. I think Trey Turner will definitely blow past Lindor. Nothing on Lindor. He's having a pretty good year. He's definitely a lot better in the first two months, maybe first 6 weeks, if you want to put it that way. Trey Turner is the kind of guy that I feel like that should be there all the time. There's everything that he brings to the table. One of in a very small class of 5 tool players. It's a guy that can run the bases very well. He's a pretty solid defender. He hits for contact and he can hit for power as well. Love watching Trey Turner play, but we'll see. I think there's a lot more closer races in the National League than there are in the American League.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting end to the first half. See who makes the All-Star team.
We're going to move on to our final segment now, which is the new segment that Andrew and I are going to introduce for this episode and hopefully for future episodes. And that'll be the hot take segment. Now, Andrew's got 2, I got 1. Andrew, let's just get right into it. Andrew, what's your first hot take to conclude the first half of the season?
My first hot take is I think that the Dodgers right now believe they're tied or have a 1-game lead. I think they're going to have at least a 6.5 game lead on the Padres by the All-Star break. They got Heaney. Mookie's coming back soon, probably a couple weeks. Heaney, Kershaw just came back. Padres have been somewhat lucky. If you look at some of the advanced metrics with their starting pitchers, especially Darvish and Mackenzie Gore, I think Dodgers are going to, if you look at the run differential with Pythagorean win-loss record, Dodgers have been one of the more unlucky teams in the league. So they're just going to blow back. They're going to build a substantial lead on the Padres.
See, that I can agree with and also disagree with at the same time. I really like the brand of baseball that the San Diego Padres put out there, and I could honestly see them winning that division this year. It's going to be very interesting. I think 1 or 2 things are going to happen. The Dodgers are either going to run away with it and win by a lot, or this race is going to continue to stay neck and neck between the Padres and Dodgers all season long. But for my hot take, it's going to stay very similar in terms of division races, and it's going to be in the National League East, and that is between the Mets and the Braves. Right now, the Mets are in first place. They've been in first place pretty much all year, but the Braves really started to put things together. They had a 14-game winning streak not too long ago that has since been broken, but they've still been playing a lot of good baseball despite losing Ozzie Alvarez to a very very bad fractured foot injury. It's a big guy that they're going to lose in their lineup and a big guy that they're going to lose defensively, but I think the Braves will still be able to manage. I think the Atlanta Braves will be within a game or maybe even past the Mets for first place come the All-Star game. And right now, they're 5 games back. They have 7 games against the last place Washington Nationals. They also have 3 games against the last place team in the National League Central, Cincinnati Reds. And they also have 3 games against the Mets. Those are big games. Now, I threw that in there not because I think they're going to sweep them, but if they take 2 out of 3, that's big. That's really big in the division lead, especially when you're playing a division rival like that. And their offense is really starting to put things together. You said it in the beginning of the show, Andrew. Max Fried, dark horse guy to win Cy Young, could end up emerging out of the shadows and not be a dark horse guy and could be possibly a top 2, top 3 kind of guy. I really like the Atlanta Braves, the reigning champs. I predicted them to win the division way back when we did our standings predictions. So this is something I can definitely see happening before the All-Star break. I think it's more likely it happens after the All-Star break, but that's why it's a hot take.
Yeah, I don't think that's too hot of a take right now, given this current state of the Mets. Still missing Jacob deGrom, obviously, not coming back till later in July. Max Scherzer will be back soon. Tyler Mahill gonna miss a good amount of time. I don't really trust their pitching right now. They went through a little bit of rough stretch starting pitching wise. Trevor Williams, David Peterson, Taijuan Walker, not really holding it up too well. I don't really believe in those guys, Taijuan and Carrasco, for the long run. But I think in the end of the year, the Mets are going to win the division by a good amount because once Scherzer and deGrom get back and they have Mahill, I think those 3 are just going to dominate every start, and they're going to win it by at least 6 or 7 games, I think. But by the All-Star break, I think it could be close. All right, and then so my next hot take, I think Max Fried will be top 2 for Cy Young voting by the All-Star break. Right now, as mentioned before, got some guys like Alcantara, Musgrove, Corbin Burns, Wheeler, Nola. Max Fried probably on the outside. I do think, though, he's one of the best pitchers in the National League at limiting walks. Not a huge strikeout pitcher, doesn't throw very hard. He's got that great curveball, just swoops right in there. He's second in expected fielding independent pitching right now at 2.92 behind only Aaron Nola, and he's 7th in ERA at 2.77.
I like that. I like that a lot. Max Fried is the kind of guy that has been very, very good and very sharp for this Atlanta Braves rotation. I think it'll be a big part as to why my hot take will come true. I've always been a big Max Fried guy. He was a very good arm in the 2020 season, and he just continued to be that good arm. Last season, he dealt with a little bit of injuries, but Max Fried, very solid pitcher. I can definitely see that happening this year, towards the end of the year, most likely. I don't know if he'll be in that running come mid July, but I think that's more of a futuristic kind of take. I really like it, though. I think Corbin Burns will eventually really stand out as the front runner more so than he is right now, going for back-to-back National League Cy Young awards. But that is all that Andrew and I have for you. The 8th episode of the Free Baseball Pod. But before we go, we always end with our trivia question. The answer to our last episode's trivia question, we'll start with the question first, was why are the Mets colors blue and orange? And the reason is because when the Dodgers and the Giants moved to San Francisco and Los Angeles, respectively, the founder of the Mets did it in terms of a protest, because the fans were not happy that both teams left that area of New York City. So the new team that came in decided to take both colors and make it one team. And Citi Field is modeled after Ebbets Field, where the Brooklyn Dodgers used to play. I think that's a little fun fact to have or to know in baseball history. It's very cool. But we'll add some more. We'll ask another baseball history question in this episode. Andrew, what is this episode's trivia question?
The one we have for today is, what is the last team that Babe Ruth played for? Relating a little bit to what we talked about earlier in the episode, Babe Ruth compared to Shohei Ohtani. So leave a comment, reply, Twitter, comment, Instagram, TikTok, if you know the answer.
The king of Crash, the Sultan of SWAT, the great Bambino, notoriously known for playing for the Red Sox and then being traded to the New York Yankees. Everybody knows that, but there was a third team in there that he finished with, didn't play for them for too long, but playing is playing, and he did appear in some games for this team. I'm going to go out and say, Andrew, I want the full name of this team. I want to know where they were in this point in time, not where they are now.
Yeah.
We're going to make it very specific. So leave your comment or your answer in the YouTube comment section or in the thread that we post after each episode with the question. But that's going to wrap up this episode of the Free Baseball Pod. I hope you enjoyed. And Andrew and I can't thank you enough for your continuous support. We keep trying to get more and more stuff out there for us. Andrew and I are two very busy guys, but we are trying our best, and we are hopefully putting out good content for you, the viewers out there. But until the next one, the ninth episode of the Free Baseball Pod, I'm Will Talent for Andrew Mendez. Thank you for watching.